What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's spoiler review ending explains of Gaia. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit the like button, as well as comment below any video to watch, including this one. So when it comes to this ending explains spoiler review of Gaia, this movie is fascinating in its aspect because, like in the Earth, this movie is very much a take the forest, take the woods, take the trees, and make them very sinister and make them very dark and disturbing while being very beautiful. And that is a very interesting concept for movies in general, because if you watch like the Blair Witch Project, or if you watch any movies that are set in the woods, there's something kind of ethereal, something very odd, inspiring, but something very dark and very uncomfortable about the woods because of just a lot of, especially when this movie being set in South Africa, there's a lot of jungle space down there that nobody knows about, nobody understands or has ever been in. So being in the middle of the woods, taking Gabby's character into the woods and having her deal with these two individuals and finding out about this like spore-like substance, finding out about this like Gaia type character, which Gaia of course is, setting in the earth and about earth being protected by a deity or god and trying to bring earth back to a naturalistic setting, is what this movie is trying to, in its nutshell, portray to the audience while being a horror film in a lot of aspects. And you can look at something like Midsummer. It's the same type of aspect where people are worshiping something that may not necessarily something they understand, but as we see with Barhen's character, he's worshiping this tree which has this like substance inside of it that helps heal them, while also shooting out this like spore-like substance that creates creatures, I want to say. And you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. This is not my actual theory, but it's a fun theory to talk about. But it also causes this creature to grow plant-like substance on them, and some of the, causes this, god-like, not god-like, demon gods like creature. Everybody who gets like a cut or a substance on them, they end up growing like fungus all over their hands and trees, and they kind of are basically consumed back into the earth, which is what, like I said, going back to that, life after people scenario. And that's slowly starting to happen to Gabby, but she's starting to kind of fall for Stefan's character, and she's trying to get back to her own population, but she gets enwrapped with this whole situation. And like I said, Barhem, who is really doing the actor is doing a really nice job of giving us some really hefty and heady commentary on what is going on, about how we'll reap what we sow, we'll end up regretting how we treat the earth is going to come back and reclaim us, and it's going to happen whether you like it or not. And you see at the very end of this movie where he is right, because not only is his son going to go off to the real world, but the woman dies and he ends up dying. I think he ends up dying. It's not really explained, but what makes it really interesting about reclaiming the earth is the kid is now infected. It's not, you see like a after or mid-credit scene or whatever, but the kid is now affected, kind of similar to Ex Machina in a lot of ways, where a woman who's an android or cyborg or whatever goes out to the real world and is going to change the world for a very different setting. But here, the kid goes out into the real world, wherever the movie ends up taking place at the end, and he's in a burger shop. He eats a burger, and the burger starts molding to the fungus-like state. So my theory is that mold is going to start spreading, start infecting people, and similar to Gabby and her park ranger friend, are going to start basically retreating back into the earth. They're going to die. A virus is going to consume the world, and it's going to be life after people. Everything's going to be reconsumed by plants, as we see the buildings and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting concept, because if you think about it, the idea of viruses, there are things in the forest, there are things out there that are virus-like that could kill millions and millions of people, but are somehow isolated in this jungle-like setting. So the things that the father and son, who are never fully explained to why and how they got there, you learn a little bit about them, you learn a little about the mother and stuff like that. You kind of see how it's so isolated that these two are the only ones that have ever been affected by it. Now we have Gabby comes in the mix. She kind of gets Stefan and his ball rolling, so she's almost like a mother-like figure to him, and he eventually, like I said, goes off and stuff like that to do basically like a 12 Monkeys type world and whatnot. So, in essence, it's very much about a virus, a spore-like substance that will infect people, and how we look at the world, and especially if we become too ingrained with like cultism and deities and gods, how it truly starts to affect our brain. And there are just enough horrifying and mystical elements in this movie that causes a lot of that stuff to start enveloping your brain and enveloping their brain and stuff like that. And that's why you see Bernard Barron's character start to kind of lose it a little bit. So, if you played The Last of Us, and you're going to see where this is going, The Last of Us is about a virus, a spore-like virus that infects people, causes many people to mutate if they get, hurt or whatever, and they turn into creatures with, fungi on top of their heads, or they're, bloaters, or if you've ever played Last of Us, you know about clickers and bloaters, and I'll post some pictures to kind of give you an idea what I'm going with. But in this movie, we have, like I said, the lady, Gabby, comes across these two men who are basically, they're worshiping this deity, this god, who has a spore-like substance that infects people, that causes fungi to grow out of them, that, I mean, is not 100%, but it causes fungi and stuff like that to grow out of their head and arms and stuff like that. And then they have a creature that, I swear to God, I crap you not, when you watch this movie, looks exactly like a clicker. Now, I don't know if the director is very much inspired by Last of Us. I have no idea, but this movie feels like a prequel to Last of Us, because not only does that clicker character, that creature, look very much like a clicker, but the kid's going out to the real world. He's starting to spread the mold, which has the fungus, has the parasites or whatever, has the spores, and it leaves it at that. So you can only imagine that he's starting to spread a virus that's going to upend millions and billions of people. That's the start of The Last of Us. Now, this is a very much of a joke theory, but it would not be surprising if Neil Druckmann and the Last of Us crew somewhat were inspiring to this director, or they financed this film and just made it a film that nobody would recognize as a Last of Us film and turned it into a film about Gaia and stuff like that. But I just thought it was funny when you watch it and you're sitting here going, that is a clicker. There's no doubt about it, because it makes a lot of clicking noises. It makes a lot of that type of noise when you hear it. And like I said, it deals with spores. It deals with people growing fungi. And I'm like surprised I didn't see like Joel in this movie or something like that. And I'm surprised like the ending didn't take place in Boston or whatever. But it's more of a joke than anything. But when you watch this movie and you watch this ending explains and you sit down and think about it, spores, there's one of these creatures that looks so much like a clicker with a fungi eye and stuff like that. It can't see you. You have to be very quiet so it doesn't hear you. It gets right up to you. There are some differences when it has to do with like wood and how wood forms around you, and you kind of go into the earth. But it was so similar. It really was. It was something that I was not expecting to watch when I saw a movie called Gaia. And I'd be thinking about Last of Us when I saw it, and when I got to the end, I'm like, that's pretty impressive if this movie it's either inspired or it's just a coincidence, which it probably is a coincidence, and the director probably made it it's just something he like enjoyed and whatnot. And he thought it was an interesting concept. He has some really interesting ideas he wanted to present. But my God, if you don't see the Last of Us inspiration in this movie, then I don't know what to tell you. But overall, the real theory is it's spores. It's people worshiping a deity that could be more mystical and mythical than it really is. And in the end, it's about what it is to treat the earth and respect, and what we are doing that will end up causing us our destruction when we lose everything and the planet takes itself back and heals and we're gone. So but with that said, that is my overall take of this movie, what I honestly think about it without the the Last of Us, stuff like that. But yeah, that'll do it. That'll be my ending explains of Gaia. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your honest theory about this movie is. Do you think it's that opinion? Do you think it's something else? Is there something I'm missing? All that good stuff. Please understand that this is just my personal opinion. You could have some different concepts and whatnot. So that'll do it. Thank you so much. If you like this video, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, as always, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.